recommended budget to the board. This was presented last month. Today is the public hearing, and this is the time where members of the public can address the board, provide comments, thoughts, insight, and their observations about the recommended budget. Next, in June, the board will deliberate on the budget and adopt the budget. And then we will have the last phase of our budget process in October, which is called the supplemental changes budget. So that's just a recap of, how we process our budget here in the LA County. I appreciate the opportunity to quickly recap my previous budget presentation to provide some context and identify some of the challenges and opportunities that we are faced in fiscal year 22-23. I see the PowerPoint. Let's go straight to the next slide. Turning the corner to an equity-focused recovery. Is there a question? Okay. So this winding road is just a reminder that there are still a number of milestones to reach between now and our final budget in October, which I basically just recapped. Next week, for example, recommendations for Measure H, our homeless initiative, for the Measure H spending plan will be presented to your board. Also, that will be followed by recommendations for Tranche 2 of the American Rescue Plan Act funding. And after that, recommendations for Year 2 of the Care First and Community Investment budget. As you can see, we're still in early stages of our annual budget journey, and today just marks another milestone in that journey. I'll take the next slide, please. Economic opportunities and uncertainties. Although we continue to be cautiously optimistic about the county's recovery and economic outlook, there are a number of warning signs on the horizon. They are displayed here in this slide. Inflationary pressures have increased our overall costs. Just last week, the Federal Reserve moved to rein in inflation by raising interest rates by 0.5%. The Fed's largest interest rate hike in more than 2 decades. Higher interest rates will increase the county's cost of short-term borrowing and any long-term bonds issued this year, and more rate increases are anticipated this summer and in the fall. More importantly, history indicates that fighting inflation through rate increases is not an easy thing. And there is a risk that the rate increases can put the economy at a higher risk of a recession. So we are very mindful of that, and we're keeping our eye on that, supervisors. At the same time, an unstable geopolitical climate is affecting capital markets and our energy prices, and I think we see that played out on our daily news. We are also seeing a slight rise in the COVID-19 case rates across the country and here in LA County. This is just a reminder that the pandemic is still very much with us. We are closely monitoring for potential budgetary impacts in that area as well. And of course, as your board is aware, we are currently negotiating labor contracts with our county workforce. We are committed to continuing to bargain in good faith and achieve agreements that are fair to our valued employees and to also remain fiscally responsible. Just to take a deeper dive on that note, the CEO's office is committed to negotiating a fair and a reasonable contract, which recognizes both the value of our county workforce as well as live within our means. All budgets have limits, and the county's budget is no exception. And we do remain committed to negotiating a fair contract. Along with other factors, including major litigation, all of these things add up to a highly dynamic period in which our optimism must be tempered with fiscal prudence. I'll take the next slide, please. Budgetary advances and key board priorities. Despite the uncertainties that I just outlined, supervisors, we remain generally positive, and our budget reflects a strong commitment to advancing your board's priorities, some of which are highlighted here. And I'd like to draw particular attention to a relatively new and major shift in our budgeting Community Investment Program, known as CFCI. In year 2, we are approaching $200 million in ongoing annual funding and are on track to meet the board's direction to set aside 10% of our locally generated unrestricted revenue for CFCI programs by the time we reach full implementation in 2024. Take the next slide, please. New approaches will require additional funding. We have programmed this budget as a blueprint for change. As I mentioned earlier, it's a starting point and not the end of our journey. So we will be returning in future budget phases with additional funding recommendations to support some of the exciting innovations now underway in our county. These include the planned launch of not one, but 4 new county departments during fiscal year 22-23, something that is unprecedented here in the County of Los Angeles. As a reminder, the new departments are the Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department, the Youth Development Department, the Aging and Disabilities Department, as well as the Economic Opportunity Department. These new departments will help realize your board's vision to strengthen the county's organizational structure by consolidating work and efforts currently scattered across multiple entities in the county. We want more efficient and more effective services leading to better outcomes. We're also beginning to plan the fiscal foundation that will be needed to implement recommendations by the Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness, recently approved by your board. That will impose additional oversight and a new, more broadly collaborative approach that prioritizes greater participation by all 88 cities in Los Angeles County. In addition, we are working to roll out a new 988 alternative crisis response system, part of a new nationwide program to change the paradigm and how we respond to and assist people experiencing a mental health crisis. This means moving away from a law enforcement-dominated approach and towards a mental health approach so that the right people are responding at the right time and in the right way. These are just some of the important and powerful ways we are changing Los Angeles County for the better. We will continue to work with your board to achieve these and other priorities while also that we identify the combination of funding resources and budgetary trade-offs that will be needed to meet our legal obligations to balance the budget. I'll take the next slide, please. So challenges on the horizon. I've already laid out a number of near-term challenges to balancing our revenues and expenses, and I'd also like to share some of the other issues that we will need to address in the not-too-distant future. I know your board is well aware of these needs, but I want to be sure that the public also has the opportunity to see beyond the demands of the moment. We are facing structural deficits in several departments, including fire, library, and the Department of Children and Family Services. We also have structural deficits in the Office of Diversion and Reentry, the Office of Violence Prevention, and in some of our programs like the Parks After Dark program. In addition, we are facing a $750 million cost in terms of deferred maintenance of our county facilities, and more than $450 million is needed to replace our many outdated technology systems. We are committed to finding sustainable funding solutions, but recognize that there will be trade-offs required along the way. Next slide, please. Decision points ahead. I've laid out some of the key dates ahead that will inform both your board's budget deliberations in June and the final adopted budget in October. More information around funding will also be gathered as the federal and state governments finalize their own budgets in the weeks and months ahead, and we will keep your offices updated of those developments. Next slide, please. And finally, thank you. Thank the board for the opportunity to recap my earlier presentation and share some perspective on where we are in terms of our budgetary outlook. led by your board, we are on a fast track to progress on so many fronts. And we are doing it during a pandemic that continues to challenge so many of our most vulnerable residents. This budget is intended to serve as a roadmap towards progress and an equity-focused, better than before recovery. I look forward to hearing from members of the public at today's hearing, and if there are questions from your board, I'm happy to take them at this time or after the departmental presentation. Thank you, Supervisors.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davenport. I'm going to make a quick statement, and then we will hear from supervisors in the following order: District 4, 5, 1, and 3. We're rotating it, so supervisors have varying opportunities to provide input into the budget process. So thank you again for your presentation. And our budget process is an incredibly important component of our democratic system. And so today we welcome LA County residents to present their ideas and thoughts on how their contributions should be spent by the county. 3 weeks ago, I held a budget town hall for the 2nd District community where we heard from many of our constituents. It was a robust conversation, to say the least. So I want to thank those who attended the event and for the ideas and concerns that you shared. And today, every resident of the county has yet another opportunity to share their perspective. My engagement with the public won't stop after today's hearing. We'll continue to provide opportunities to hear from you, and we'll strive to make the budget process collaborative, inclusive, and transparent. So this year, I'm really very excited by the opportunity to work with my colleagues to help shape the priorities of our board and approve funding for services that will make a real impact in the lives of every county resident. That's what budgets do. The process should remind us of our responsibility to consider the cost of our ideas and our decisions. It should remind us to be strategic with the ideas we bring forward, so we're serving LA County residents with an optimal framework that combines problem solving and the effective use of very limited resources. The pandemic, again, has brought many challenges. Again, I want to acknowledge the hours of work that goes into developing a budget, the size, complexity, and magnitude of one that helps govern a county of, close to 11 million people. We've got lots of work to do. I appreciate the CEO's acknowledgement of ongoing labor negotiations because we're clear that the work of the county is operationalized through county employees and county workers. That's how we get services out to county residents. So I appreciate her acknowledgement of that and the ongoing work to make sure that we create that balance in terms of supporting. You're up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for the presentation. And as Supervisor Mitchell said, today is more about the 5 of us listening to our constituents weigh in on our $39 billion budget. But I did have a couple things I wanted to say. It's clear, and we recognize that there are more asks than we can fund at any one time. And so we recognize that's why this budget happens in phases. And we look to and we thank our CEO for keeping everything balanced. I know I've asked for more money for parks and libraries to keep residents engaged in mental and physical activities throughout the year, but especially during the summer months when our kids are out of school. I've worked with many of my cities to help shelter the unhoused and have asked for more money related to interim beds to make sure people have a place to sleep at night. And I'm expecting our advocates for the arts to call in today and ask for money because our creative economy isn't just about Hollywood, but rather the arts is something that can be infused across many communities to add value to all. And I want to echo Supervisor Mitchell what you added at the end of your remarks about our county workers. I was glad to hear you say, Kezia, that you are working hard to get a fair contract, and that's what I wanted to add, that our workers are so important really carrying out this board's priorities and to delivering services to our residents. And they've gone through a lot in the last 2 years, and they have kept this county moving forward despite the challenges that the pandemic has created. I hope we can look at the negotiations as with our friends and our partners, and not so much a warning or a red flag or a challenge. They have always wanted to be part of the solution of the county. We need them, they need us, and I trust that we will get to a fair contract soon. So with that, I look forward to hearing from the public. Thank you to everyone who's taken the time to call in and weigh in on your county's budget. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Barger.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I echo what both of you have said, and I'll just add a little more onto that. And I want to thank you, Cynthia, and your entire team, but especially for the presentation and the recommended budget that you brought forward today. I really do believe this is a good summary of areas of strength within Los Angeles County and the potential challenges we should consider in the upcoming fiscal year. Making decisions about our budget is probably one of the most important things we do here at this board, as we are the safety net for more than 10 million children, youth, and adults. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our county workforce who continue to go above and beyond in serving our residents, whether their needs are great or small. Through COVID, we saw incredibly dedicated frontline workers who put themselves, put their families and all on hold to make sure that the residents of LA County had their services. Our workers are the ones on the ground in local communities and represent the county well in assisting the most vulnerable among us. And I want to recognize the work of our county departments and agencies who are working collaboratively to ensure that services are delivered efficiently and programs are distributed responsibly. Over the last couple of years, we have kept up with increased demands for county services such as food, housing, health services, homeless services, small business grants, and mortgage relief, to name a few. At the same time, I hope we can work to maintain the public safety and ensure the general well-being of our entire region. I'd like to thank my colleagues as well here on this board for their partnership and support, and I'm grateful to work together with you to serve the residents of Los Angeles County. And I think it's been said before that this is a living document, our budget, and it's something that we revisit throughout the year. And I really do think it's important for the public to engage in that. And to Supervisor Mitchell, to Chair Mitchell's point, having the public provide input makes it a better reflection of what this county is all about. With that, I'm excited. Again, thank you, Fizia, and thank you to all my colleagues. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Solis.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would also like to extend my appreciation to our CEO, Fizia Davenport, and her team for their continued hard work on the budget. I look forward to hearing from members of the public on their response to the budget, their recommendations, also that we just previewed by our CEO is very important. That took place April 19th, and now we're ready to hear from the public. You know, as we have gone through this pandemic in the last 2 years, the county was able to weather fiscal impacts of the pandemic because of the long-standing fiscal policies that were established to ensure that we could provide a safety net of services that are required by law to deliver. And it's in no small part, it's also thanks to the funding support we received from President Joe Biden and Governor Gavin Newsom. Without those both fiscal policies and the support we received from the federal and state government, the county would not have made it through as well as we did, and I really think the public needs to acknowledge that. Although I was pleased to see that the recommended budget funded some of the programs that are important to my district constituents, there are several more that I would like to further see funded, many of which I, along with my colleagues on the board, passed motions for. First and foremost, I believe we need more funding to increase housing of all types, affordable housing, as well as interim and permanent housing for those that are unhoused. Last year, I opened, as you know, the Hilda Solis Care First Village, bringing 232 beds of interim housing to the downtown area. And I thank my colleagues for supporting that and our CEO. Because they are made out of shipping containers, we were able to expedite the construction in a very short time frame and get them up in only 6 months at a cost of less than $60 million. I also passed a motion to create 1,000 additional housing slots through the county's flexible housing subsidy tool. Our budget should also enable more opportunities to build housing throughout the county, particularly in partnerships with some of our local jurisdictions. Our cities play an important role in bolstering our rehousing system. And to that end, I just want to reiterate that I helped to secure $10 million to fund the service costs for interim housing sites in our local jurisdictions. And I created a fund for cities who want to apply for the state's Project Home Key, but needed additional support from the county to draw down matching service funds from the state. We need to create more opportunities like these to co-invest with our cities, particularly to help them build out their interim and permanent housing. Since I came to this board back in 2014, I'm proud to share that we have built 500 interim housing units in my district alone, and 2,000 affordable housing units have been completed, with another 13 that are in the pipeline. But as we all know, we have to do more throughout the county of Los Angeles. And so I did provide a motion to create a pilot community land trust program, an anti-displacement initiative to preserve affordable housing in perpetuity. I joined Supervisor Hahn as her co-author for the mortgage relief program and foreclosure prevention program to assist our small landlords with grants and counseling services. I authored and co-authored initiatives with Supervisor Kuehl to address barriers to build accessory dwelling units in LA County. And as chair of the Metro Board of Directors, I co-authored a motion with board member DuPont Walker that led to a 10-year Metro joint development goal of completing 10,000 housing units in the coming years, with at least 5,000 of those units designated as income restricted. Similarly, with Metro's recently updated housing policy, Metro will always first seek to build 100% income-restricted housing developments any time a property has been identified on a joint project. And when it comes to the physical and mental health of our communities, we need more funding to safeguard our most vulnerable populations. We learned that through the pandemic. I passed motions to expand the county's mental health services in schools for our youth, and we also help to address the impacts of diabetes, prediabetes, and undiagnosed diabetes, and the disparate impacts experienced by Latino, Black, and Native American communities. We leverage all available resources to develop a comprehensive approach to address the skyrocketing rise in STD cases and the end of the STD cases in the county. And more attention, I believe, is needed for gender-affirming care, because we know that within our healthcare settings, LGBTQ patients, especially trans patients, face insurmountable hurdles in accessing medically necessary healthcare services. I hope that the motion I passed for DHS to create a welcoming environment where everyone, regardless of their gender identity, can access care that they need. And lastly, we need more funding to increase the role of promotoras and community health workers who are trusted health care messengers hired from the community who deliver services in a culturally and linguistically appropriate way. During the height of the pandemic, this program was hugely successful in disseminating accurate information and testing and vaccination. And I see the value in continuing this work to reach our most underserved communities. So I helped to secure $45 million in funding to expand the workforce across the county. And when we talk about the environment and the impact of climate change, this board is taking a very bold action, and I'm committed to take every ounce of our willpower to address the complexities of our changing environment. We'll soon be launching our Youth Climate Commission, which will strengthen the county's leadership in the area of climate change mitigation and adaptation by amplifying the perspectives and priorities of those who will most dramatically be impacted in their lifetimes, and that is our young people, our youth. And for the environmental crimes already committed, I advocated for over $454 million in the governor's budget toward the cleanup of the former excise facility and the surrounding neighborhoods. who have suffered with the facility's contamination for over 40 years. I also set up a 9-week training program with Proterra to prepare workers for employment opportunities in electric bus manufacturing. And I joined Supervisor Kuehl to put forward policies to reduce single-use plastics, increase organic waste diversion from our landfills, and transition unincorporated communities to 100% renewable energy. I hope that as a county we can continue to strengthen our commitment to strive for clean air to breathe and clean water to drink for everyone, regardless of where you live. There are many things we have done together as a board to be proud of, and there's a lot more to do because none of us can do it alone. In closing, I want to say a few words to the county workforce, to the men, to the women, and the people who day in and day out make this county run. I want to let you know that we hear you. I know that the cost of living today for many of you is a struggle, and it is a struggle for you to make ends meet. The cost of gas is higher, food is higher, and so many of you are right now struggling with rent. I know this because many of you indeed live in my own district. I support you and want you to have a fair and reasonable cost of living increase. It's my hope that labor in the county can settle the negotiations quickly so we can continue to serve the over 10 million residents who depend on us. Thank you, and we wish to hear from the public. ¿Sabes qué? Estamos aquí para oír todo lo que quieren decir a nosotros. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and to my colleagues. Sorry I went on a bit longer, but I think those were things that had to be said. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Solis. And Supervisor Kuehl.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With mixed feelings that I say this will be the last budget in which I participate in government of any kind, I think, because I'm certainly not running again at my age. But I have to say a couple of things. First of all, adding my thanks to Phaedra Davenport and her staff. She's done an extraordinary, extraordinary job. I mean, I have been so fortunate to serve with Sachi Hamai as our CEO, and then with Phaedra, two extraordinary women who have made a big difference in the budget. I want to thank my colleagues. This is a very different board from the one that I joined at the end of 2014. And I will say a little more about our priorities and what we've done, but I'm really grateful to each of the four of you. People really don't know what a pleasure it is to serve with people who are reasonably together, who know how to disagree, and who can get something done and still, in our own way, stick together. I want to thank my budget deputy, Angelica Ayala, who started out as the district office director for my East Valley office, came into the downtown office as my second senior health deputy, and now as my budget deputy, an extraordinarily talented woman who would never take credit for a whole lot of stuff, but definitely is part of the solution in all of the things in which we've worked. I want to say this is a very different budget from the first budget I saw 7 years ago, and it's very different in a very good way. A budget is a moral document. It says this is the expression of our, basically, tenets of faith, of what we believe is the right thing to do. And I find that some of the changes have related to our being ever more client-centered, in a way ever more reality-based, so many more voices with lived experience joining the conversation. This is a listening session, though you wouldn't know it up to now because we're all talking, but I want to say to the people who will speak, this is not just pro forma, because the changes that have occurred in the way the county thinks of what its jobs are have been largely in part to the contributions of people who have not just come to one meeting and, said something and gone away, but who have organized, who have worked with us, especially on homelessness, especially about jails, diversion, and alternatives to incarceration, especially about youth. It has been public input that has made a very, very large difference. So I have to say, we are listening. Sometimes we don't look like it, sometimes you don't think it because we didn't do what you wanted exactly at that moment. But there have been tectonic shifts in what we are doing with our county budget. When I first was elected, there was nothing being done about diversion. We didn't have an idea of, we have billions of dollars in the budget for jails. And essentially, slowly, we said no, not doing that either, not jails, alternatives to jails, and started an entire new way of trying to deal with justice. The same with the young people who were thought to be just part of the adult population or, part of DCFS or whatever. There is much more of a focus. We have talked about our labor force, and, when people say, I hope you're all working on this, I think we all got the email that Fija was contacted at 3 in the morning about ongoing negotiations. So I have to say, I think there's a lot going on there to try to solve and bring this ever together, because the only work that the county does is done through its workforce. I mean, essentially, just look in any department, it's people. What people used to call human capital, which seemed a little, I don't know, not exactly the right way to think about us. And finally, I want to say that there is also a balance in the way that we work with our community-based organizations. We want our workforce to do all of the jobs that it can do. We want there to be jobs in the country because they're good jobs. But our community-based organizations, many of whom will be delivering services under our Measure Jenny, which I think is what everybody's still calling it, is also very important. I think many of us work in and some led community-based organizations, and we know that, talk about ear to the ground and trust from the community, that's an important component of what we do as well. So whether we're thinking of violence as a health issue and what we do in terms of looking at working against violence, certainly anti-racism work is not all just done by, county staff. It's done in our communities. All kinds of services to youth, mental health, etc. And I think we find that balance in this budget, and I'm very proud of the way that we incorporate more people working for the county and more recognition of the understanding and real good work of our community-based organizations. So we are listening. You are making a difference, and thank everyone who's called in. Thanks to my colleagues, and especially thanks to Fija. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Kuehl. It is a little disconcerting to hear your opening remarks about your last budget experience. So I'll just say boo to that.
I'll try not to smile too much, thinking about, thinking about driving across the country in my new mustard yellow Jeep, which I don't have yet, and visiting friends. But I'll be thinking of you every minute. I promise.
And now I'm not smiling at all. So we'll now hear from county department heads who've requested to address the board. Our county assessor, Jeff Prang, has made such a request. Good morning, Mr. Prang.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and honorable supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to address you and to present my office budget and a few of our exemplary projects. Despite the continued impacts of the pandemic, my office has continued to provide quality service while implementing a number of projects aimed at supporting efficiency, operations, and community engagement. With the help of your board, our office has implemented an innovative workforce training program in partnership with West Los Angeles College, Rio Hondo College, and by partnering with local stakeholders, we have transitioned training to West LA College for our appraisers while offering career preparation programs for all students at Rio Hondo College. And building off the success of this program, we're going to develop a program at Mount San Antonio where students will be able to enroll in a similar program, and upon completion, we'll have the opportunity to apply for employment with the office. Creating new pipelines that will provide residents with employment opportunities within the county is just one of the ways that my office has worked to cast a social safety net beyond the services that we are known for providing. Modernizing the office has always been a significant priority, and I'm happy to announce that we are close to finishing phase 4 of the Assessor's modernization modernization project. That's our technology overhaul. Phase 4 will include the decommissioning of the mainframe and other outdated support systems, and it will occur in the fiscal year 2022-2023. The office is also focused on change management, as user adoption of the new system will require significant staff training. We're working with our partners, departments, specifically the Treasurer Tax Collector and the Audit Controller and ISD, to ensure a seamless transition off the mainframe without disrupting their existing systems and processes. After Phase 4, the office will focus on the production of the assessment role with operational maintenance, and then start Phase 5 for fiscal year 2023-2024, which will be the last part of our replacement of our legacy systems. While COVID-19 continues to challenge the office, but with the support and leadership of your board and the CEO, we've been able to adapt and manage in this difficult environment. Given the dedication of our staff, it pleases me to report that we are on target to completing our annual assessment role production on June 30th. On May 15th, I will formally transmit the annual role forecast estimate to the CEO. We currently estimate that the value of all assessed property in LA County will grow by approximately 6%, which is exceptional given the uncertainty in our economy this last year. Factors contributing to that growth include the continued strength of the transfer of property, particularly housing, a CPI adjustment of 2%, which is a double of what it was last year. Business and personal property growth showed a modest dip, while new construction did see an increase, although it's roughly half of the typical growth we've experienced in recent years. In closing, my budget request supports our continued efforts to provide quality public service, to continue to upgrade our technology systems, and planning for a more effective and efficient workforce for the future. And I thank you for your continued support, your time, and attention.
Thank you very much, Assessor Prang. Colleagues, while we have the assessor on, are there any questions any of you have of the assessor based on the budget information he just presented? Okay. Oh, did I hear somebody? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Again, Assessor Prang, thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Supervisors.
Mm-hmm. So, colleagues, we'll now get to the point of this hearing where it gives us the opportunity to hear from the public. So we'll now take public comment on both agenda items. Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was also provided on the agenda and explain the speaking rules to those members of the public who are calling in to address the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 877-336-4437 and use participant code number 13666786. To repeat, please call 877-336-4337 and use participant code number 13666786. Do not call that number if you only want to listen to the meeting. To listen only, please call 877-873-8017 and follow the instructions. To members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, please state your name and which agenda items you wish to speak on. We will allocate 45 minutes for public comment on the 2 items posted on today's agenda. You will have 1 minute to speak on these items. If there are still additional speakers waiting to speak at the end of the 45 minutes, then the chair may extend the public comment period. We will continue to accept all written comments that come in during the meeting, which will become part of the record. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not speaking on a topic, or if we cannot tell if you're speaking on an agenda item, you will get 1 warning from County Council and the chair. If you do not immediately or clearly get on topic or be straight off topic again, you will forfeit the rest of your time and the chair will move to the next speaker. Please note that if you're also listening to the board meeting on a computer or a speakerphone, you will need to turn down the volume on those devices as soon as the moderator calls on you. If you do not turn down the volume, there will be an echo. Moderator, may we have the first speaker, please?
As a reminder to address the board, if you have not done so, please press 1 then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 then 0 a second time, or you will be removed from the queue.
We'll now hear the Spanish interpretation of the reminder. si aún no lo ha hecho, como recordatorio para dirigirse a las supervisoras, si aún no lo ha hecho, por favor presione 1 y luego 0 en este momento. No presione 1 y 0 por segunda vez o será eliminado de la fila. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the first speaker, please?
Our first participant is Kruti Tarek. Please state which items you'll be addressing today. Please begin.
Hi, greetings. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please begin.
I'll be speaking on agenda item 1 and 2. My name is Kruti Tarek. I'm the coordinator for the Los Angeles Youth Uprising Coalition and a crisis intervention counselor. Every day I do peace building work in the community, assisting young people and families. And I really appreciate these couple of minutes to be able to share with you how disappointed I am that the county continues to invest $1 billion on the probation department. I lose sleep over the fact that young people are in a tragic situation at both Silmar Juvenile Hall. Each of the facilities, the probation department has taken no responsibility to make sure that young people are safe in our county. If they are unable to ensure the safety of our young people, how can we continue to invest $1 billion? We have a moment in Los Angeles to fully fund the Department of Youth Development. I'm asking that you make a commitment of $1 billion.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. Please state which item you'll be addressing today. Please begin.
S1. And as to the homeless and transient budget, the Safe Camp site for transients, which is a critical $1 billion budget, it has not been addressed. The idea of the legacy technology in the 22nd year of the 21st century is simply appalling. So a source of income, it has been noted to several sources that Los Angeles County has $2 to $3 billion business of prostitution, which has failure to decriminalize the situation. It promotes human trafficking of women, children for sex purposes, promotes sex-transmitted disease, and costs millions of dollars to enforce. When decriminalization, these people would be paying taxes and putting this $2 to $3 billion in the economic structure and save just a bundle of money. And as far as overall, there should be no, quote, budget deficit per se, in that sell some bonds, get the money, and get us into the 21st.
Understand, because the first caller said that she wanted to speak on 2 agenda items. I want to make sure callers realize this is our budget hearing, and as the executive officer said in her instructions, there will be 1 minute given to every caller. I didn't want people to think that if they say 2 agenda items, they get the additional minute. So it's 1 minute per caller today. So I just wanted to clarify that so people understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1 minute per speaker. We may require a Spanish interpreter for the next participant, Norma Flores. Please state which items you'll be addressing today. You may begin. Pardon me just a moment, Ms. Flores. And pardon me, we are going to be moving on to Eric Preven. Please state which items you'll be addressing today. Please begin.
Well, I'll speak on both items, and I'm very upset that it's only 60 seconds on such an enormous budget. It used to be much different, and I don't think this is the kind of change that we've been rooting for, despite what Sheila said about how we really do want to hear from the people, despite all the talking we've been doing. You know, this is a big, big endeavor, and the people should have more input. There were a lot of form letters that said, you know, it's an unfriendly process, and it's true. Imagine if the county employees who are in pitched battle with the supervisors now about a fair wage. But it's complicated because they say the exempt employees, the ones who work upstairs and don't have the union benefits but get a lot of money, you know, everybody is trying to get their best to survive. And yet the public has been cut to half of its regular meetings. They don't even have regular meetings anymore. And Sheila, to reduce them, think about it. Huge budget, 60 seconds, not even on both of the items can you speak. So this is a draconian cut, and it's nice that we've made, we've migrated away from Knabe, Antonovich land where everything was carceral. But we've got such a mess with LASA and with the bureaucratic layers that adding huge departments without oversight is really worrisome. So we need more time. We need more time.
Our next participant is Nicole Brown. Please state which item she'll be addressing today. Please begin.
Hello. I'd like to address both items.
Please go ahead.
My name is Nicole Brown with the Urban Peace Institute in Los Angeles Youth Uprising Coalition. I want to echo that it's really disappointing that we only get 60 seconds to comment on a $38.5 billion budget. I want to call for meaningful investment in the Department of Youth Development and the Care First budget, including a community-based system of care to close Men's Central Jail, and really want to say that we really need to invest in the Department of Youth Development. We've been planning for 2 years. We need to cut probation's budget. As Kruti says, young people are suffering in the halls, and there is no accountability. There are also hundreds of vacant positions, and we need to cut that budget. We are spending $1 million per year to incarcerate one young person instead of investing in their future. I want to also uplift the need to invest in violence intervention. We need to invest in oversight, like the Probation Oversight Commission, and we need more than 6 slides and 60 seconds to comment on a $38.5 billion budget. I know that we are all working hard. I know you want to see change, but we need more. We really need more. Janice Hahn said that 2 years ago it was a status quo budget, and I cannot say anything has truly changed. Thank you.
We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Gustavo Herrera. You may please begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Gustavo Herrera, CEO of Arts for LA. I'm here to share comments on item 2. I ask that you invest in building the staff of the LA County Department of Arts and Culture. It's a really important step towards ensuring that the investments and programs that you supported over the years quickly impact the community. Lastly, I ask that you please fund the LA County Cultural Policy. Specifically, we ask that you fund item number 24 of the Cultural Policy. Artists and arts organizations continue to struggle with the affordability crises, and this is a critical step and need in the field as identified through our extensive community listening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Our next participant will be Julie Martinez. You may begin.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to address the board. I am a resident of District 5, and I am here to urge the County Board of Supervisors to please adopt the reimagined LA County Care First budget that elevates the Care First demands, which are: please close Men's Central Jail by March 2023 by reducing the jail population by at least 5,000. Immediately allocate $275 million for mental health treatment. Another issue is fully fund Care First community investment by allocating at least $900 million in funding from the county budget. Also, fund the Care First budget by allocating at least $2 billion annually through leveraging dollars from CFCI and other local, state, and fed resources. Also, fund Youth Justice Reimagined by shifting $75 million out of probation as part of the Care First budget. And lastly, commit to building the Care First vision through authentic community collaboration, which is extremely important. I cannot leave this call with...
Time has expired. We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant will be Nathan Keith. Please go ahead. Mr. Keith, your line is open.
Good morning, Supervisors. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
My name is Nathan Keith, and I work for Williams Homes. I am also a resident in the 5th District. I wanted to take this morning and speak on item number 2 and thank the Parks and Rec Department for putting in a new facilities request for a public county park in North Los Angeles County. We are currently building and fully funding a 6-acre park that will include many amenities for not just our community, but the surrounding communities. We thank the 5th District for the support in the budget and for Parks and Rec for understanding that this will help meet the goals of empowering youth and meeting their mental and physical health that is so important to the youth of this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please? May we have the next speaker, please?
Hudson.
AT&T moderator, may we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Erica Gross. Please begin.
Hello there. My name is Erica Gross, and I'm with the New York Jewish Action and the Reimagine LA Coalition, and I live in District 3. I agree with what Supervisor Kuehl said, that budget is a moral document. However, the county currently thinks the morality is focusing on the prison system and incarceration instead of the Care First community budget. Currently, the county spends billions of dollars on policing, surveillance, prosecution, and incarceration. What we need is the money divested from there and into the Care First, being a Care First county. I also want to uplift that we also need to start to fully fund the Department of Youth Development. We need at least $150 million this year to realize Youth Justice Reimagined, including funding a strong Department of Youth Development and community-based organizations for youth services. This includes allocating $50 million in American Rescue Plan Act.
Our next participant will be Genevieve Claverol. Please begin.
Yes, thank you, Supervisors. I appreciate all the effort placed into this budget. I know how difficult it is, but I really would have appreciated additional information and more time for speakers to address this issue. This budget meeting could have been over several days instead of the limited time you've given the public to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Beirut Katebian. Please begin.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Dr. Batten, County Hospital. The reason that I am calling today is because of addressing agenda item 1 and 2. There is a significant problem with staffing in our hospitals. Physicians are leaving. We've lost many of them due to the pandemic, be it due to illness, burnout, or other opportunities elsewhere. I'm asking for improvement in the budget for our benefits. There's 2 tiers of benefits for physicians, and the majority of physicians have a lesser tier of benefits, which causes significant turnover, issues with physician retention, hiring, and ultimately results in short staffing for our patients. An example of these loss of benefits is lack of short-term disability, which prevents us from taking maternity leave when we have a child, lack of a 401k, worse health benefits. And because of these issues, we're losing significant numbers of physicians that take care of safety net hospitals where our patients definitely need us. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is William Harrison. You may begin.
Hello, my name is William Harrison. I live in District 1. I want to thank Solis for turning their back on the black community. I brought to her attention a concern we have with Walnut Valley Unified School District, Roland Unified School District, where they are not hiring black people. Now, I know that you cannot determine what the hiring practices are, but you could look into it, investigate it, make a phone call. No one's even called me from your office to talk about this concern. So I'm asking Ms. Solis and other supervisors at least have the decency to look into the allegations. Don't just turn your back on the black community black community as you have in the past and you probably will in the future. The shallow and hollow shouts of liberty and equality for black people is just not coming to fruition as I speak here today. I called you for 3 months. No one's called back to say, well, we're investigating. You passed the buck, and I find it to be reprehensible that you are not taking a stand. But you say that you're so concerned with education in the black
Sorry,
community.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would just like to correct the record. Our office has reached out to this individual several times. He has not returned calls, and we had the school district call him as well. Thank you for your comments.
Do we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Maria Vides. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Maria Vides, and I'm a policy advocate with CHIRLA, as well as part of the Immigrants RLA Coalition. And I really do appreciate the effort that I think the county has made in integrating youth and the needs of working class communities in the general budget and also the plans for the second round of ARP funding. I am calling, though, to urge us to integrate a lens where immigrant families are included in the discussion and are very much heavily considered, and their needs are considered as well as we continue to refine the budget and approve one by the end of this cycle, one that reflects their housing needs, food needs, and their needs for financial assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Francisco Romero. You may begin. Mr. Romero, your line is open.
Do we have the next speaker, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
If you can.
Good morning. Francisco here with Promesa Boa Heights here in SD1. We are part of a 13 mainly black, brown, indigenous, and Asian Pacific Islander-led organization, the Park Equity Alliance, both national and community-based orgs, advocating to uphold parks as a critical equity matter. As we know, parks serve multiple life-saving roles for respite, exercise, community building, job opportunities, and careers, especially for youth, and we hope park promotoras as well. I want to thank Norma Garcia as well as Elena Parky from Parks because we've been in constant engagement with them to continuously improve park building, renovations, and programming. Whether it is in the parks program and strategic planning as well as community-driven park planning and design. That's why today we're urging you to the board to double down on the budget necessary for keeping the park strong. That's with the quote, human cultural wealth, the essential workers that on the daily keep life at the parks going. Investing in parks is investing in wellness and the health of all Angelinos. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Mr. Achille. Please begin.
Yes, my name is Keely. I'm with Black Lives Matter LA and the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. This is a classic contradiction. On one hand, we talk about and make reference to Care First. On the other hand, we're increasing the budget to the sheriff. You can't have it both ways. As was stated in the people who voted for and endorsed Measure J. We want to see a divest invest. This budget reflects the reverse. With investing more in the sheriff and making reference to Care First, but it still gets a lot less than the sheriff. So we're asking you to go back, redo this budget with an emphasis on Care First and a de-emphasis on the sheriff.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Kent Mendoza. Please begin. Pardon me, Mr. Mendoza. Just a moment.
I'm here.
Mr. Mendoza, please begin, sir.
Okay, good morning, Board President. My name is Ken Mendoza. I'm the manager of advocacy at the Anti-Racism Coalition. I've been working on youth justice issues since coming home 8 years ago when I was just 20 years of age. The issues that we are seeing today are still the ones that are happening when I was incarcerated in 2009. Today, as a 28-year-old person, I've been working to improve opportunities that this county can create for our most vulnerable population of black and brown youth. I'm here to urge this board to
fully fund the Department of Youth Development. This is something that you have promised and to community and youth. By allocating $450 million, this county can not only help stand up DYD, but it can actually realize crucial and important components of the overall youth justice reimagined vision and report. By allocating these funds, this county has the potential to fully invest in youth empowerment support teams and credible messengers, which is something that this county crucially needs right now at the moment in our juvenile hall, camps, and facilities, and the community. I think that it's disappointing to see that the CEO continues to fund
Time has expired. We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Kenzo Suhu. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Kendall Sowe. I'm a policy advocate and community organizer with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm here present today to speak on item 1 and 2 and highly gifted youth in our communities. I was released from the Division of Juvenile Justice 2 years ago, and I consider I have transitioned into adulthood with the help of credible messengers placed in my life. I find it sad to see that there's no funding to fund DYD by the county. With so much money invested into probation, there has to be a much stronger realization that our youth needs are bigger than probation. The current generation is our future. The importance of exposure to opportunities and meaningful resources will bring the biggest change in youth development. Showing the youth we do not trust them and continue to input punishment in their lives, we teach them that it's not okay to make mistakes, and the only way to learn is to be miserable in jail. So what are we really fighting for? Credible messengers are the only people that our youth can relate to. Investing in this type of foundation will empower the youth that will be our next leaders. Thank you for your time, and I insist the board to take this very seriously as we expect change for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Caitlin Quackenbush. You may begin. Ms. Quackenbush, your line is now open.
Great, thank you. My name is Caitlin Quackenbush, and I'm calling to provide a general public comment and public comment on item number 2. Thank you, supervisors. My name is Caitlin. I am the Director of Policy and Research for Tenant Rights at Strategic Actions for a Just Economy and a member of the Los Angeles Right to Counsel Coalition, and I help implement the Gatehouse LA County program. And I'm calling for the Board of Supervisors to codify a right to counsel for tenants facing eviction in unincorporated LA County. And for that purpose, I ask the board to allocate $10 million in its annual budget. In 2021, the county launched Gatehouse LA, which is currently serving thousands of tenants with eviction prevention and defense services. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. However, thousands of more tenants still have needs that go unmet because we have yet provided sufficient funding to guarantee this as a right for tenants facing eviction.
Mm-hmm.
And so while continuing, yes.
Your time has expired. And we have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Robert DeKalb. Please begin.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. My name is Robert E. Camp. I am a member of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm a life coach on the HEART team, Open Redemption team. And as someone that was incarcerated from the ages of 14 to 36 to 22 years straight, I'm here to speak on the county's budget and urge the BOS to fully fund and stand up for the Department of Youth Development by allocating $152 million to youth development. And as I said, as a former youth offender, I can fully attest to the programs that changed my life as a youth offender and set me on a different path, and how much it helps the youth in our juvenile halls, our camps, and our correctional institutions to be supported with trade schools, from everything to, janitorial services and anything in between. And I believe that it makes our youth stronger and fully supportive.
Can we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Miguel Quezar. You may begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, supervisors. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. My name is Miguel Casar with Healthcare Dominguez Hills. And every year, when it's time to make bold and courageous decisions, we are once again given platitudes about this county being a safety net for children and equity, this and that, all while continuing to reproduce the very structures that harm children, families, and communities every day. We've asked this board to lead before, not to pander to political interests, but to lead. And now we find ourselves here again, doing the same things, being witness to the terrible impact of having done those things last year, and again, we get to hear from supervisors saying that this budget is a statement of values and of morals. Despite the mountain of evidence and the research consensus that the sheriff's office, that policing, that punishment, that probation do not support public safety, and on the contrary, it compromises public safety, we once again find ourselves with a huge budget for them. There's been a year of probation debacles, a year of punishing people, a year of zero accountability, shuffling young people between camps with no plan, no support, no resources.
Your time has expired. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Lynn Acosta. You may begin.
Good morning. I'm speaking on item 1 and 2. My name is Lynn Acosta. I'm a member of the Hope and Redemption team. I'm a life coach for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. As someone who was incarcerated from 1998 to 2018, I'm here to speak on the county's budget and urge the Board of Supervisors to fully fund and stand up for the Department of Youth by allocating $152 million in youth development. I want to urge investment in youth empowerment support teams. I want to urge investment in community-based reentry support and urge you to invest in starting and piloting credible messenger programs in facilities across the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Rajuva McDuffie. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Jude McDuffie. I'm a life coach for the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, Harm Retention Teams. I'm a fully supporter of the youth budget bill. As a former juvenile life, I was incarcerated in all 3 juvenile facilities, as well as Camp Holt and Miller. I can personally attest to the lack of care and guidance in these juvenile facilities. We were treated like dogs in a kennel. Looking back, what was needed was consistent counseling, helping me trying to understand my feelings, giving me a safe place to express myself. Had I been exposed to these rehabilitative classes, I would have been able to explore different options. Well, we need rehabilitative classes and life coaches with lived experiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
As a reminder, to address the board, if you have not done so already, please press 1 then 0. Press 1 then 0. Do not press 1 then 0 a second time. You'll be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of the reminder.
Sí, un recordatorio, por favor, si no se han comunicado todavía para hablarles a las supervisoras, por favor presione 1 y luego 0 en este momento. No lo presione 2 veces porque saldrá de la lista. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Reba Stevens. You may begin.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Reba Stevens with lived experience. For 21 years, from the tender age of 19, I experienced homelessness, substance abuse, criminal justice involved in domestic violence. We are at a critical moment when young people need to see themselves reflected in this budget. They have told us they need and want fully funded youth development department. They want prevention and redirection services, and we need to make good on the promise. I urge the board to fund $150 million to the Department of Youth Development. I also ask this board to fund the Office of Diversion and Reentry, for we know that for those of us with mental health challenges, we cannot get well in a cell. And during my 21 years of being homeless, untreated mental illness, and 12 arrests, every time I was released, I had nowhere to go. The Office of Diversion and Reentry provides excellent services. Additionally, we need and we must fund drug and alcohol treatment facilities. Thank you, honorable supervisors, for allowing me an opportunity to speak. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Yuval Yusufi. You may begin.
Hi, thank you so much for making the time. My name is Yuval Yusufi. I'm a resident of the 2nd District, and I'm calling with the Right to Counsel Coalition. I'm calling for the Board of Supervisors to fund the Stay House Delay program and Right to Eviction Counsel at $10 million for its annual budget. It is a small cost, a mere 0.028% of the county's annual budget, and that could prevent thousands of households from entering homelessness. And it would pay for itself. We've seen many cost-saving studies around the country that show that this brings many more savings and would prevent a lot of displacement in our communities. The county in 2021 launched the Stay House Delay program and was a leader in that program, but we are really urging you to codify the right to counsel and maintain the current funding and make sure that we are fully funding it at $10 million per year. Thank you.
The next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Janet Asante. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Janet Asante, and I am a resident of District 4, and I am speaking on items 1 and 2. I would just like to say that when you talk about care first, and many of you supervisors have, that means you have to put care first, not in the supplemental budget, not last, not as a little afterthought in the budget. We need it now. You're spending 17 times as much on the LASD compared to the Care First and Community Investments budget. That is a shame. We're spending more on locking people up and putting in probation to make sure that people go back into prisons and jails, as opposed to spending it on caring for people, as in giving them the mental health services that they need, as in giving them the health care that they need, as in giving them the resources that they need. And you're right, Sheila Kuehl, when you say that the budget is a moral document and it shows where you're putting your resources. It shows where you think our community needs and what is important to you. And ultimately, it's not care, because that would mean that you'd be funding it more. That would mean that instead of 3 staff for the Care First Community Investment budget, it would have nearly 30,000 staff like the Law and Justice Department. So we need more care, and we need it first. Thank you.
We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Melinda Kakani. Please begin.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hopefully you can. All right, great. Good morning. This is Melinda Kakani with Children's Defense Fund California. I'm calling to speak about the CEO's recommended budget. So there's this thing, it's called a return on investment. I imagine you are all familiar with it, especially the CEO, but here's how it goes in case you're not. You put money into something, you make an investment, you're looking for a value-added outcome related to money, public safety, health, happiness, whatever it is. And what makes no sense to me is this commitment to investment in flawed institutions, being the sheriff, probation, maybe even DCFS. All of these institutions rooted in not seeing the humanity of communities of color in particular. So let's talk about probation for a second. How is it that you are sued for the harm you caused to young people a year ago? Your institution, smaller budget for the incarceration of young people, CEO. Come on. If your priority is to protect and empower youth, this is probably the equivalent of a massive fail. We're asking for $152 million to turn the Department of...
May I have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Maynor X. You may begin.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm just here, to really just urge you guys to, like everybody's been saying, invest in the Department of Youth Development with $152 million and to reduce probations,
Thank you. May I have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Christopher Ige. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Chris Regan from the Union of American Physicians and Dentists. And we are here today representing our physicians and dental pharmacists and veterinarians to ask that the budget address the inequality that our members get in benefits. Our members get 20% less benefits than other county employees. During the pandemic, our members were in the front lines, risking their lives, yet the county is not providing short-term disability and a 401k for our members. We have the highest vacancy rate, and the county says it's important to recruit and retain doctors, yet All you offer them is benefits package that's 20% less than everyone else working in the county. We ask for your help to fix this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Megan Rubel. You may begin.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Megan Rubel. I'm speaking on item number 2. I'm a Los Angeles artist, and I'm calling to ask for an increase in the Organizational Arts Program, or OGP, budget to $9 million to ensure the survival of small and medium-sized arts organizations. LA artists also need increased access to affordable space for artists and arts organizations so that they can continue to create art here in Los Angeles County. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Meredith Galen. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Meredith Galen. I'm with the Los Angeles County Public Defenders Union. I'm here to speak on agenda items number 1 and 2. We, the public defenders, appreciate the board's stated commitment to Care First jail law. This board recognizes that in order to address issues related to houselessness and mental health care, we must invest in alternatives to incarceration. As public defenders, we are on the front lines of providing services to the people in our community who are in the most need of those services. The budget proposed by the CEO for the Office of the Public Defender is insufficient to allow us to provide for a Care First jail law model, and also to meet our Sixth Amendment obligations to provide effective counsel to our clients. We are asking for the board to fund us so that we are able to connect our clients to the kind of services that the county is seeking to fund and to make the model for alternatives to incarceration for the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Sean Gage. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Sean Gage. I'm a life coach with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition Hope and Redemption Team. I am in support of the youth budget bill. Our most precious and priceless resource is our youth. To invest in our youth is to invest in our future. This budget will allow us as a community to show our youth that we believe in and care about them and their futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Janet Kelly. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Janet Kelly. I'm the Executive Director of Sanctuary of Hope, as well as a 2nd District resident. I'm speaking on items 1 and 2. I ask that you truly invest in our youth's promise and potential. Too many times young people don't receive the full investment that we owe them to improve their overall well-being. We hosted a CFCI listening session yesterday with 25 young people in South LA, and we'll host another one tomorrow with 30 more in the South Side. And young folks said that they want more state center support with their case plans to be removed from probation quickly, substance abuse prevention, legal assistance, and crisis intervention. And not surprisingly, they said that they wanted people like you to prioritize them by funding prevention and intervention services to preserve and strengthen their families and communities. Even as we're expanding into Antelope Valley, we are hearing the same demands. It is my hope that you invest and to allocate $150 million or more to fully fund the Department of Youth Development and give our youth what they deserve. A LA County family ready to realize their possibilities.
Time has expired. May I have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Lydia Scott. You may begin.
I'd like to begin by saying thank you for your overwhelming support of the Aquatic Scholarship Program. Your insight has allowed many constituents to again enjoy health equity within the pool. There are still many aquatics program users who are unable to utilize the neighborhood pools because of the entrance fees. What we'd like to see is the scholarship program continue for individuals with disabilities and senior citizens currently 65 years old. We would like to see you lower that age of seniors to 50 years. Additionally, we would like to see the inclusion of low-income citizens under the age of 50 years be able to take advantage of the scholarship program, you know, those receiving public LA County assistance. And lastly, we would like to see a pay-as-you-go program similar to that used by Los Angeles City Pool, where residents caught within the digital divide who are lacking a computer, internet service, and knowledge on how to use them are those unable to pay for monthly interest. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker?
Our next participant is Alexia Sina. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Alexia Sina, and I'm with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. I'm a resident of the 5th District, and I want to urge the board to fully fund the Department of Youth Development by allocating $152 million to youth development. The county spends $570 million on probation's juvenile operations, and only a fraction of the county's budget goes to youth development and youth reentry services. Youth Justice Reimagined is a vision to invest in youth's potential with having credible messengers on their journey every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is James Nelson. You may begin.
Hello. My name is James Nelson. I'm with DPN, Dignity and Power Now. Formerly incarcerated, spent 29 years inside, been home 8 years, and been a part of the work that's taking place here in LA with Justice LA, and just knowing like the work that we've done to support the communities that's been marginalized, and to know that these things have won, but they have not been implemented. Like now, to give the police more money, it's just really ludicrous. Again, these are the folks that don't even want to take a sworn oath when they come and give public testimony. These are the people that have known gang members on their department and don't want to rectify the problem. But when we fought to get the community some support and some care, up under the alternative to the incarceration, up under the Care First budget, these folks is not still getting the attention that they need. And I think it should be upon each board member to make sure that these things are implemented in the community in a real way, and not just keep talking about it, not just keep prolonging it, and not just keep on giving money to where problematic is.
We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Olivia Shields. You may begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Olivia Shields with the Urban Peace Institute and the Youth Uprising Coalition. I want to demand that $152.5 million be invested in standing up the Department of Youth Development, which the board said that they would do by July 1st, as well as dollars for youth services, 24-hour youth centers within youth development networks, particularly investments in SPA 1, which is Antelope Valley, and SPA 6, South LA, Yes Teams, Credible Messengers, and Reentry, which also includes $50 million in American Rescue Plan dollars for youth centers and housing, especially given the fact that LA County will receive $975 million in one-time ARP funds this year. We can do so by reducing probation's budget, specifically juvenile probation's budget of $570 million, by cutting all 400 vacant and frozen positions that have existed for the last 3 years. Probation has failed our youth time and time and time again for countless reasons, yet they still receive the lion's share of the budget, especially in comparison to funding for youth. As my colleagues have so beautifully said, it is crucial that we fund the Department of Youth Development to be robustly staffed and fully prepared to support the young people, the people that make up our future. To build a county that embraces safety and care, we need to invest in reimagining youth justice so that young people are inundated with support.
Our next participant is Sir Bailey. You may begin.
Sir Bailey, Humanities Facilitator with Youth Justice Coalition with Youth Build Charter Schools in California. Everybody ought to know about Ken Sir-Weaver out of the Congo, how to beat poverty out like a bongo. Thomas More said think big over 500 years ago, and it was in 2020 that young people did the research that made the people of California speak out loud. Yes, we have spoken, and we're not joking. We got to share the money. Fund Department of Youth Development, fund Youth Justice Reimagined. There is no option. This is a time of detention centers in Pennsylvania are watching and seeing how does it work? How do we have people with license to operate coming back and staying in society, because we are rebuilding a new society. Open hearts, reconciliation. Reconciliation, it's an economic term. Yes, reparation. Power to the people. Thank you for allowing me to share. So Love One. Big up Youth Justice Coalition. Lay up. and you Board of Supervisors
Yes, sir.
can't do it.
Your time has
Share the
expired.
money.
Can we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Ziedler Ordaz. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. This is Leah Seidler-Ordaz with UCLA Law's Criminal Justice Program. I'm calling on the board to adjust the recommended budget in order to fully fund the Department of Youth Development. The department needs at least $150 million this year in order to realize the vision of YJR and properly stand up DYD by July 1st of this year. $150 million will do the following: begin the process of building youth development networks in 4 spas, pay for the Yes Team pilot that the Youth Justice Advisory Group is organizing, placing credible messengers in facilities, and funding community-based reentry services, and funding housing. All of this for $150 million is a deal. Compare that to $570 million for an inherently flawed, failing probation juvenile services department. The answer is simple: fund YJR. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Ace Ania. You may begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Hi, my name is Ace Anaya, pronouns they, them. I am working currently with the Trans-Latina Coalition, and I would like to address both things on the budget. First thing being, I hope that there is a much more participatory way that community members can involve and give input to the budget process more than just 1 minute. Another thing that I want to mention is I want to call for BOS, Board of Supervisors, to honor the people's voter mandate to invest $900 million each year. This should not be an issue, and it is, again, a drop in the bucket compared to the police budget. I want to advocate to close Men's Central Jail, fund youth justice for more than $75 million out of probation, and support LA's youth holistically and not criminalize the future of LA, of the United States, of the world. And I want to make sure that there's intentional and urgent action as proposed by things like the RD initiative, right? Especially for LGBTQ youth who take up of 20% of the...
Excuse me? Your time has expired.
20% of the youth that...
Our next participant is Ambrose Brooks. Please begin.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ambrose Brooks. I am the Coalition Coordinator of the Justice LA Coalition and a resident of District 3. I'm curious, how is this Care First and Community First when the county is allocating 45 minutes, 1 minute each, to hear from the public in a county of 10 million people? Majority of this board continues to speak of Care First, of their commitment to close Men's Central Jail. But what this budget reveals is, yet again, you are not putting your money where your mouth is. Close Men's Central Jail by March 2023. And to do that, you need to fund the county departments, public defenders, Office of Diversion and Reentry, health services, and invest in Care First community investment to successfully close Men's Central Jail. Where is Men's Central Jail closure and Care First reflected in the budget? It's not. $3.4 billion for the Sheriff's Department when the Office of Diversion and Reentry is facing a county-created deficit. You heard from public defenders today who are telling you they need more funding to provide constitutionally required services. There are so many other ways to fund Care First beyond funding the probation and Sheriff's Department, and we urge this county to consider this as they present the supplemental budget. Thank you.
And the next speaker, please.
As a reminder, to address the board, if you have not already done so, please press 1, then 0 at this time. Do not press 1 and 0 a second time, or you'll be removed from the queue.
We will now hear the Spanish interpretation of the reminder.
Un recordatorio. Si quieren comunicarse con la supervisora, si no lo han hecho todavía, por favor, en este momento presione 1 y luego 0. Pero no lo vuelvan a hacer la segunda vez porque saldrán fuera de la lista. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Janet Asante. You may begin.
Hi, I'm back again because 1 minute is not enough. As the last speaker said, Ambrose Brooks, we definitely need more input in our community. I'm a resident of District 4. And as they said, we need to close Men's Central Jail by March 2023. We need to make sure that our community is properly invested in. We need to make sure that there's $900 million funding from the county budget going towards the Care First community investment. We need $2.17 billion annually from CFCI. We need to fund the Youth Justice Reimagined by shifting $75 million out of probation as part of the Care First budget.
Can we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant is Eddie Fleming. You may begin. Eddie Fleming, your line is now open. Yes.
Okay, hi. My name is Eddie Fleming. I'm addressing item number 1 and 2, and I want to make a comment on the process. And even 6 or 7 months listening session, see, I've been doing the data in between that. In between the 6, 7, and 9 month session, there's deaths. There's many deaths. So what I want to suggest to all of them, to every district, because we're speaking about humanity, we need to purchase back Olympia Hospital from UCLA and have the engagers, boots on the ground, deliver the patients or clients or anyone experiencing or suffering mental illness or drug abuse and deliver them to that location. Your service providers don't even have a hub for ourselves. How is this effective in any way? It seems like a dog and pony show. The same people receiving the funding. When you get into the RFPs, you need this approval, that approval. So let's move away from that and invest the money, purchase back Olympia Hospital, allow for every organization to have a place for the people to care about.
Your time is
Thank you so much.
We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Sylvia Merriquin. You may begin.
Yes, good morning. My name is Sylvia Marroquin. I'm a senior organizer with Strategic Actions for Just Economies, and I'm also we're also part of the Coalition for the Right to Counsel. And so this morning I'm approaching the board to please ask them to put $10 million for the right to counsel. We know that State House LA is doing the best that they can, but we need these not as a program. We need these as a right. We have so many people that are in dire need of an attorney. And we're talking about numbers. How many flowers does a woman, an 86-year-old woman, need to sell a month to pay $800 a month in rent? We really, really need these services for not just the people that need it the most. We need it for the county employees as well, right?
Our next participant is Megan Castillo. You may begin.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Megan Castillo, and I am the Coalition Coordinator for the Reimagined LA Coalition. I am calling to implore the board to actually invest in Care First budget items. We have sat on numerous commissions, we sat on numerous boards, and worked hand in hand with the board offices to realize a Care First vision, right? And so as part of that, we want to make sure that we're closing the central jail. In order to close the central jail, we have to invest in services. We have to make sure that there is a safety net for our youth. We have to make sure that there are resources available for our youth. So we need to make sure that we're committed to building the Care First vision through authentic community collaboration, funding Youth Justice Reimagined by shifting $150 million and shifting $75 million out of probation as a part of the Care First vision, and of course funding the Care First budget by $2 billion annually by leveraging dollars from CFCI and other local and state federal resources. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker, please?
Madam Chair, there are no other speakers in queue to address the board.
So thank you very much, moderator, for managing that process for us. And we want to thank those who did call in and share your perspective. Again, you may continue to submit written comments as indicated on the agenda, and we'll continue to accept them
and make sure that they become a part of our official record. At this point, colleagues, I move. Yeah.
There are 2 speakers left in the queue, if you'd like to take them.
Let's hear them. We'll hear these final 2. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll now go to the line of Dr. Maureen McCullough. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dr. Maureen McCullough, and I'm addressing the budget. I'm an emergency medicine physician at all of you. A recent LA Times article highlighted the significant delays in diagnostic procedures and subspecialty visits and showcased the real difficulties DHS is having in recruiting and retaining physicians. Because of the unionization of physicians, benefits were significantly curtailed for new physicians. This meant higher insurance premiums, loss of matching 401k, and the loss of short-term disability. We are not competitive with the community. A letter about PEPRA from the board to the Board of Supervisors in 2012 from the CEO outlined the difficulty that would result in the ability to compete for, recruit, and retain professionals. Lower salaries, worse benefits, and now a cap on retirement pensions have led to the current physician shortages. In addition, the varying benefits and retirement packages among colleagues who work side by side in management is demoralizing. We need the tools and workforce so we can avoid future Los Angeles Times articles and state investigations. By improving the benefits package to recruit and retain professionals, you will ensure that the county is able to offer timely and quality medical care. I thank you.
Thank you. May we have the next speaker?
Our next participant is Diana Zuniga. Please begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Zuniga. I'm with RELA, the RAC, and Tres Lunas. I've monitored the budget year after year, and it still looks the same. There's always a slight increase in the sheriff's budget, which is now leading to a $3.4 billion budget from our sheriff that has inflicted a lot of pain in our communities. Additionally, we need to shift this budget process like that of the state and incorporate participatory budgeting processes, because there really does need to be more monitoring of these department budgets. An example of why this has to happen is to see that in the CFCI, community engagement resources are being used to fund ATI staff and not all going to community engagement. In the Men's Central Jail closure work, resources are going to staff instead of the beds needed to get people out of the jail. At this point, we need you all to close Men's Central Jail by March 2023, fully fund Care First community investment, fund the Care First budget, fund Youth Justice Reimagined, and really commit to building the Care First vision that we all built together and that we need accountability around to ensure that we can witness actual racial equity outcomes that lead to actual service access for Black, Browns, and Indigenous.
The next speaker, please.
I believe the moderator said we had 2 more. Are there additional?
We do. This is Damon Ayla. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Damon. I'm a social work intern at USC with Dignity and Power now on LA Youth Uprising. First, I'd like to say that it's not cool that we only get 1 minute, and I'd like to focus the remainder of my comments on the combined budgets of the Sheriff's Department and Probation Department of $4.4 billion in contrast with the Department of Youth Development budget, which is nothing. And we need to change this. We need to fully fund the Department of Youth Development. We need at least $150 million this year to make Youth Justice Reimagined a reality. And we can do this by utilizing ARPA funds and by reducing juvenile probation's $570 million budget to fund Youth Justice Reimagined. Again, what we want to see is a reduction in the budget for both probation and sheriff's department, and an increase in the budgets for youth, mental health, public health, emergency management, and children and family services that are in line with a Care First approach. But what we have is a $4.4 billion budget for the sheriff's department and probation department, despite the fact that Los Angeles has committed to being a Care First county.
Your time has expired. We have the next speaker, please.
As a reminder, to address the board, if you have not already done so, please press 1, then 0 at this time. Do not press 1, then 0 a second time, or you'll be removed from the queue.
May we have the next speaker, please?
Our next participant will be Barbara Bondurant. You may begin.
Hi, my name is Barbara Bondurant. I take care of Michael Cogley. I have been a home care provider for 42 years, and I have been with the IHSS home care program for 14 years. I would like to share with you, caregivers like me provide an extremely essential service in our community. We care for the most vulnerable, and we keep them out of institutions like nursing homes and group homes. Today, I want to ask that the budget you come up with will reflect how essential you feel that home care workers are for this county, and we should not be forced to choose which basic need we can cover. I really want to see you support home care workers
Los
and
Angeles County Board of
acknowledge
Supervisors.
the amount that we save the county by keeping people out of institutions. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. May we have the next
Humphreys.
speaker, please?
Our next participant is Byron
Yes.
Jose.
Okay, I'm going to have to
You
hang
may
on, sorry.
begin.
Good morning. My name is Byron Jose, and I work at the Transpacific Coalition. I'm a resident of District Number 2. I wanted to, again, reiterate the efforts and the support
Hello.
of YJC. We have to fund the Department of Youth Development. We need to spend $100 million investment in the Care First community investment. And we need to look at the different needs of trans and gender non-conforming communities across the county, but also immigrant communities across the county. As the largest trans-led organization, the Latina Coalition not only advocates but serves these communities. We're also one of the co-chairs of the Immigrants LA campaign. So looking at those demands, looking at the ARPA funds, and again, this is an opportunity for the county, for every single board of supervisors to step up and serve the constituents and truly invest in our communities and not continue to invest on the failed policies of sheriffs and the incarceration of communities and criminalizing our communities. So we definitely want to, again, uphold everything that we share on housing, around youth justice, around really investing in the community, specifically around trans, gender conforming and immigrant communities. And you have Scott.
We have the next.
Our next participant is Joseph Lyons. You may begin.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Again, I mentioned and had comments on the affordable housing and homeless issues that are before the council or before the board on many occasions, but was taken today on the budget issue of the moral commitment that both the budget and public-supported taxes have contained both implicitly and explicitly in their language. I would really like for there to be a sense of accountability that the board has in both taxing and expenditure and in receiving grant funds, for example, HUD, and to make sure that they are spent in the way that is appropriate and without waste. In both cases, I think there's been a shortfall and a shortcoming on the part of the board with respect to Measure H, is its consideration of the issue that will be addressed by local initiatives. And then the second, HUD, it is unexcusable that money would go back to HUD in the tens of millions of dollars because of an inappropriate and incapable organization called LASA that is unable to spend the money as appropriate. Thank you very much.
We have the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Dora Sandoval. You may begin.
Hello, Supervisors. My name is Dora Sandoval, and I'm a home care provider for my parents. One of them is a Navy veteran SEAL. He served for his country, and he deserves a dignified way of life to be at home. And we deserve $20 pay increase so that we can stay home with our parents and take care of them and not have to put them in a home and have them taken care of by others who really don't have the passion or the compassion to do it. So please consider giving us a $20 raise because our parents, our families deserve it. We deserve better. And we just want to be able to take care of our loved ones.
Seconded by Supervisor Kuehl, Executive Officer. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis. Aye. Supervisor Kuehl. Aye. Supervisor Kuehl. Aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn. Aye. Supervisor Barger.
Aye.
Supervisor Barger. Aye. Supervisor Mitchell.
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell. Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all. That concludes today's meeting. Again, thanks to you all and